Nicholas Hoult, you co-star in The Favorite as Robert Harley, who's kind of jockeying for position in Queen Anne's court. No, what did you think about this script and about this role when you first read this screenplay? It's a very unique and sort of unusual film.
I mean, I just loved the writing. First of all, Tony McNamara had this beautiful, dry sense of humor and wit. And the dialogue of all the characters wasn't written like a standard period drama, British period drama, because I can find those to be a little bit slow-paced for my tastes. But this one was whip smart and very sharp with the dialogue and made me laugh a lot. So I just loved it on first read. And then the more I read Harley's dialogue specifically, I just fell in love with him as a character. He's very manipulative, smart, and cruel, but also makes sense and is jockeying for position, as you say, within this court and using all the pieces and people he can to get the results he wants politically.
Well, I admire you for doing another movie after Mad Max Fury Road, where the women are sort of the main event. And I just wonder if that crossed your mind, or maybe some actors would feel they were not in the forefront enough or something in the script.
No, I mean, first of all, I mean, this has been in the works for a long time, so it's not necessarily a product of this current movement. But to see three female leads who are complicated and powerful, nuanced and beautifully vulnerable at times, but really well fleshed out characters, it's pretty rare. And to see that power and love triangle between the three of them, particularly when it's such phenomenal actresses bringing them to life, Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, and Rachel Weisz, they're all so amazing in those roles. And for me as an actor, I never look at things as like, oh, I'm the lead or it's a small part or whatever in terms of those sorts of things. I just look at if I want to play that character and also go for varying kind of tones and different. I like characters that you could disappear into.
Well, you had that big wig, so you did disappear in that.
Mad Max, they lost weight, shaved my head, and ran around in just a pair of trousers. In this, I put on giant wigs and a full face of makeup and high heels. So it's always kind of, I like to transform like that if possible, physically, and then that helps with the creation of the character and to craft something different.
Yeah.
And with your transformation in this, you mentioned Mad Max, and in the X-Men films, you also transform yourself.
X-Men, one body, a lot of makeup again.
Yeah.
To my career.
Yeah. How does this compare to that? Because this is the wig, the makeup, also that very involved costumes. Like, how does it compare to those previous experiences? Was this more work or less work?
You know what, the costume, I mean, apart from the high heels, the costume was pretty comfortable, and the wigs were a little warm, but they were kind of plonked on like hats, so you could take them off in between. I would say in terms of experience overall, I would say that working with Yorgos Lanthimos, the director on this, was his approach in many ways was kind of similar to George Miller's approach on Mad Max at times. In terms of during the rehearsal period, there were a lot of, we didn't sit down and break down the history of characters and go through what we intended to portray. It was not a cerebral process. It was very much about running the scenes, but whilst we were playing games, dancing, whatever else, kind of theatre games basically. And we did that for 2 weeks with the core 6 members of the cast. So I found that process kind of similar to some of the things that George Miller was doing on Mad Max. And it's lovely because it kind of puts you in a very different mindset and creates this world and character for you to portray, but without you having to vocalize or verbalize exactly what it is. It kind of just transforms you through this period of time and what you're doing.
Well, Yorgos is kind of an unusual director. I mean, his films are different in a good way. And I just wonder, I don't know much about him except he's Greek, but what is he like in person? Because his characters are a little off the charts a little bit.
No one knows much about Yorgos. He's a little bit of an enigma, and that's where he thrives. Like you say, his work. It's this beautiful kind of. You're never quite sure where you stand with each character and where they're going to come out in the wash. So it's this beautiful reaction. You see people coming out of his films, and sometimes, some people will laugh at a particularly dark, humorous moment, whilst other people that makes other people feel very uncomfortable. So it's that kind of thin line that he manages to tread so beautifully, and that's something that he says is how he talks about, morals of characters, how they vary moment to moment. And I think you see that with all this film, really well portrayed. Where there's someone that comes in and you see it first, and you kind of understand their situation, and then they do one thing which you think is maybe perhaps too far and too manipulative, and then they verge on being kind of these cruel characters at times as well. So that's something that he's very good at playing around with. And as a person, it's similar. When you're working with him, I said in the audition, I said, "What do you think this character's like?" And he said, "I don't know. We'll see." And
that's a good answer.
About the character again after that. So it was just kind of he kind of lets you free, and then sculpts you without you fully understanding how or what his process is into what he needs for the show, and kind of lets it unravel in front of him.
And particularly his work with actors is unique. The style of performance in his films is not usually the kind of outward style of acting that you would see in certain more emotional reactions that you might expect. He's a sort of a flatter affect sometimes, and how is it? Is it like a leap of faith when you get a direction from him, or you're working on a scene with him, and it's not how you might think it look like? It's not intuitive, maybe, or was it intuitive?
Well, I love that. Like some of the my favorite direction I've ever got from directors is do nothing, and it's amazing when people are confident in their scripts and the story and the characters, you can kind of get away with doing very little as the actor. So I think sometimes when everything else isn't in the perfect shape, that's when you fall into the trap of trying to make it work through your performance, which then actually kind of backfires. But yeah, you do have a lot of trust in Yorgos, and that's something that's incredible of him to formulate, considering he keeps you so in the dark in terms of a lot of things. You still have full trust and faith in what he's doing, so it kind of creates this weird environment where you're not fully grasping maybe all the concepts and ideas he has, but that if he's happy and moving on with the take, then he's got what he needs. I do remember one day doing a scene with Emma Stone and him coming up to us after a scene and saying, "Guys, what kind of movie do you think this is?" And we both were like, "We don't know. We're trying to figure that out." And he was like, "Have fun with it, relax, blah blah." So it's like he's very freeing as a director. He lets you explore, and then for me, he would kind of let me mess around for a few takes, and then he'd be like, "Okay, now give me one with nothing."
Did you get to act with the rabbits at all?
Room with the rabbits. I wouldn't say I got to perform, but they were wonderful.
And with a film like this is a historical film. You're playing a character who actually existed, but it's also kind of it's its own sense of history. It's almost like a remixed kind of history. Did it require a lot of research, or were you really just focused on basically this script?
Yeah, again, that was unconventional because I played real characters before and real people. So real characters, real people before, and you go in and you try and learn as much of their history and their life and kind of get an understanding as much as possible of what you're getting into. And it's kind of like creating a ghost of what you think they might have been to service that story you're telling. Whereas Yeah, with this, it was very much you were free to portray it exactly as you wanted. There are surprisingly strange things that are true within it. You know, it's Queen Anne losing 17 children and the rabbits, as you mentioned before, representing each one of them, and that is actually a true thing. But a lot of it, we've taken artistic license with, I would say. Although there is actually the Harleys as a family, and Robert Harley's relatives are alive and they're still in Oxford and went to see the film at the premiere in London, which I wasn't at, unfortunately, but I heard that they really liked it, and that I nailed it. They said I was spot on with my performance. Uncanny.
You know, with you mentioned working with Emma Stone. Another interesting element of the casting is Rachel Weisz, who you actually both co-starred in About a Boy way back when. What is it like co-starring with her? Now that I mean, you've had this career transitioning from a child to an adult, and and working with her again.
I mean, it was lovely. Rachel, I mean, I loved her when I worked with her in About a Boy, and yeah, to get the chance to work with her as an adult, it's a very different process when you're a child to being an adult actor. You kind of learn different tools, and it's just you're a different human from I was then when I was 11. So it was nice to get to do these scenes with her and have fun and just be like, I don't know, just spend time with her again, because she's wonderful in this, but also to be around, she's just got a glorious sense of humor, and is very kind. So yeah, very happy to work with her again.
So it seems like a rite of passage for English actors to do a royal film. Like, is it required? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess at some point most of yeah.
And what do you think this particular bit of royalty can reflect about it's sort of like the absurdity of politics then butting up against the absurdity of politics now that we're living through? Do you think there are modern resonances that people can take away?
I do. I mean, I think the alarming thing about this film is you see these three women and this core kind of central court around Queen Anne, and you realize that it's a microscopic world in these vast opulent rooms and buildings, but you realize the fate of the country and battles and the outcome of the country and millions of people's lives is all kind of decided upon the whim of how someone's feeling in that moment and that day, or who's got the ear of who's powerful in that moment. And I think that does resonate today. I think a lot of us would like to believe that through democracy the power is more spread and leveled, but I think sometimes you see that you get someone who's a little bit insane at the forefront or leading, and it kind of bizarre events occur and everyone feels quite unsettled by it. So yeah, I think it is relevant in terms of political theory at the moment. Yeah,
I don't know if there's ever been a movie about Queen Anne. She's a difficult character. I think the right director is doing it because I think he got it in the way that maybe some others would not.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe because Yorgos isn't too precious about English history. Sometimes there's this thing, if you have to try and recreate what it was and be truthful to the story, whereas he's taken the history and then formulated it, crafted a story out of that, which has got a lot to say. And also, casting Olivia Colman was a stroke of genius, because she just manages to bring this character to life in such a wonderful, warm and painful way. But you sit there and she's petulant and fun and just a joy to watch her play that character.
Well, I want to thank you so much for talking with us about The Favorite. Congratulations on the film, and congratulations on getting out of from under that wig and out of those high heels. I'm sure that's a relief. I hope you appear comfortable.
I miss them, actually. I'm gonna try and find them and get back to them for a Halloween costume or some sort of fancy dress party soon.
Well, that sounds great. I look forward to seeing those photos. And thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time.